Childers, if no one's familiar with him. He's been here for about 4 years.
3 years.
3 years. And he, as you can see, has a lot of time on his hands. He's retired and he does this amazing work. So I'm really happy to see all of you. We weren't sure if we could put something together during the off months that we don't have Art Week, but we're really happy that you could be here. So I just have a few questions to ask Brian.
Is this open book?
Yeah. Is there a piece here that you have that you are most proud of, and why?
Probably this one, because it's big. It was difficult to get inside there and hollow it out, and it impressed my harshest critic. Here, she said, "You're not selling that." And I said, "I'm proud of that." Yeah, this one.
Okay. How do you know when a piece is finished?
I don't know. I have actually taken work back out to the shop, put it back in the lathe, work on it some more, finish it up, and polish it some more, take it back in, think about it, wake up in the morning. Most of the time it's kind of done, but I could take pretty much any one of these and say it's not perfect enough, just not there. But that's giving away secrets. I don't want. No, they're all perfect. They're all good, just the way I want them.
There's a lot of people here that were not here during the general meeting on Thursday when we did a demo. So could you quickly go through the photographs on the wall?
Where's my pointer? So you read this just like reading on a page. We started with a block of its spalted tamarind from Southeast Asia. And, oh, by the way, the photographs are done by David Guy, who came to my shop a couple of times, 5 times, 12 times. And there's probably 500 photographs of me making this piece. So anyway, we start with a block of wood. We cut it on the bandsaw into a rough round shape. Check it for that it's set up in the chuck properly. Now start to turn into more of a smooth cylinder. Get it down into a finished cylinder, and then I'm putting what you call a tenon, a foot, on this side and putting one on the back side. That foot gives the chuck something to grab a hold of. The last step is, this is called a parting tool. It's a thin knife. It goes straight in and separates the 2 pieces into 2 halves. Then the base is put in a chuck, turned, hollowed out some more. The lid is put into the chuck. This is missing about 500 pictures. This is from piece to piece. Measuring for fit, try the base on the lid, polish it, get it done, and then the last thing is the finished piece like that. And that is also the property of Mrs. Childers. And what was the question?
There wasn't. I just asked you to explain that.
And that's the process. That's step by step. That's the technical aspect of turning the wood. The purpose of turning the wood is another story. It's why do you want to do this? The round, the shape, the bringing the bowl out from inside the block of wood is so gratifying. It just makes me feel really good to get something smooth and pleasant to hold. All of my stuff, and you've read the signs around here, pick it up, walk around with it, hand it to somebody, smell it, feel it, heft it. I don't generally shoot for thin. I like to have some weight in the piece of wood. It reminds you of, that was a tree one time. That's got some gravitas to it. And so the pieces you'll find that I do most often don't have a real thin wall. I've done that, I can do that, but it doesn't give me the same satisfaction as getting a piece that's got some weight to it. And that's a little bit of my philosophy. I like round. I've talked about, I don't get along with right angles at all. I've tried making boxes. Yeah, I can't do it. Cannot do boxes. So round is my thing, and doing this just makes me feel great.
Do you have a preconceived idea of what it's going to be when you start?
There are times when I have a piece of wood or a couple of pieces. This is Osage orange and red hardwood, and I had 2 blocks of wood that were the same, and I ideated this before I started. I thought, I'm gonna do one tilted in and one tilted out, and they're gonna be a pair. And that one went from start to finish with the idea that I had in my head. Other times, I get a pink ivory wood, which is lovely, and yellow heart, and a little bit of African blackwood. And this was going to be a single piece. This was going to be a bowl with a flat top. And then I started doing this one, and that could fit right in there if I just put a lip on it and did this, and pretty soon I was working these 2 together, and that became a single piece. No intention of doing that, ever. It just, there it was, all of a sudden. This one was done. I've showed this to a couple of people. The Osage orange was all finished, and I was going to put a lid on it. I went, I got this little piece of stuff, and I turned a bowl within a bowl so that you can put your diamond rings in there, if you have them. And then somebody comes along and they take the lid off and they see those earrings that aren't, I'm not going to steal those. They don't know what's inside there. This one just evolved and evolved and evolved.
Wouldn't they want to steal the bowl?
Yeah, Leonard, they would. Because it's so, yeah. So anyway.
I know that you worked for how many years at your family business? 40 years?
How long did I work at the draper shop?
I have no idea.
How long did you work there?
I have no idea.
Okay,
About like that.
Longer than eternity.
I started when I was...
That's not my question.
Okay.
So I want to know, I'm always interested in how people go from a career, a profession that they involve their life work into, and then suddenly find themselves retired. And I'm always curious about what it is that why people get up out of bed in the morning. Obviously, this is, besides Glenn, but this has become your passion. When did that happen? When did you discover that?
I was probably 6 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, again, Vern over there, who, yeah, he's my mentor. When we worked at the shop, we had big tools. We had table saws, drill presses, and stuff, and I've always made things. We had a red oak by the hundreds of board feet of it, and Morgan knows. He's got some of the things I made back when I was 20, before you were born.
I put them on eBay now.
No, I've always made stuff. I've always made stuff. The lathe thing was just kind of a culmination of, okay, you're not nailing pieces of wood together anymore. it's got to be more complex than that, and then it just evolved from one thing to another, and I just started doing, probably 20 years ago, I had a little tiny lathe, and I was making things even smaller than this, and messing up the garage really bad, and then I got a bigger lathe and moved out to the shop, and yeah, and it's just, it's a natural.
Did you ever think that you just wanted to go out on your own to become
A bowl maker?
whatever?
What am I? No, see, I was saying the other day, for anyone who wasn't here for the membership meeting, shame on you, but you'll come next time, right? I didn't call this art. I was just making stuff. I was out in my shop. I think I'll make a bowl. Yeah, okay, take it inside, put it on the shelf. I was making bowls. Other people looked at this stuff and said, this is really nice. And, oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. And the next thing I know, people are calling it art. And I'm starting to believe it. I say, wait a minute. Yeah, you know what? I guess it is. If I'm putting it in an art gallery, by God, it's art. And I still, every now and then, I forget, I'm just out in my shop making stuff.
Well, that brings me to my final question.
Final question.
Yeah.
Final question.
So there's a lot of categories that we put people into when it comes to producing something. So would you consider yourself an artist, or an artisan, or a craftsman?
I've been bouncing this around in my head for a long time, ever since we started talking about this. And I'm starting to become more and more convinced that Jasper Johns, he says, take an object, do something to it, do something else to it, repeat. And that is art. I don't care if it's a ball of dirt on the floor. Once you put you into that, that's art. I used to be more, gee, that's not very artsy, that's more craftsy. I don't think there's any, I'm not going for it anymore. I think you touch it, it's art. That's my take on it. Sure.
Anybody else have a
Question?
comment to that?
Linda.
How many have you had blow up?
Oh, it happens on occasion, and a lot of times I know it's going to happen because I'm messing around with a piece of wood I probably shouldn't even mess with. I get a blank piece of wood and I might see a little tiny fissure, say, well, I think I can turn that, we'll see what happens, and all of a sudden it hits the wall, hits me.
Have you had any serious wounds from it?
Not serious, no. I'm pretty careful. Years of working with power tools helped. I should probably be doing more than what I do, but on the other hand, I don't go in and go crazy. So I've been
Dottie?
lucky. Dottie.
Do you wear a protective something for your face?
Always.
Good.
Not.
So Cal?
How do you get the marbles in those?
Oh, that's a trade secret, hon. I can't tell you how to do that. But if you look real carefully, and you've got some at home, don't you, that are this way? You'll see a real fine seam here. This bottom was open at one time. So I turned the taper smaller than the diameter of the marble, drop the marble in, and then turn a piece that'll fit real snug into the bottom so that it flows through there.
Oh, now we know.
Wow.
Easy to do, right?
Okay.
Any questions? That's it? Or
Any
we?
more?
I have a question.
Yes.
Could you talk about your materials a little bit more, and where you get them?
The materials are pretty much what you call exotic hardwoods. They come from Africa, from South America, from Central America, sometimes from North America in the case of bird's eye maples and holly. I've used some American holly with some mahogany from Mexico. The internet, you go online and look for a piece of wood that you're looking for. You put in, I'm looking for Purple Heart, I'm looking for Aussie joint. There are places that specialize. That's all they do is sell blocks of wood for wood turners. And you search the internet looking for a sale, looking for a deal, looking for somebody that's got a piece that maybe, see, I buy a lot of pieces that all I'm gonna do is make a lid. So I don't need real big, I don't need real thick. I just want some wood to build a lid out of. And so I can find deals that maybe nobody else is looking for that little tiny little chunk of wood. Yes, ma'am?
What do you use to finish them off?
Once I'm satisfied with the shape and that, and a lot of times because the wood is so hard, that the carbide tools that I use to turn them put a pretty nice finish on it anyway. But once that's done, I start sanding while it's on the lathe turning, using 150 grit, 220, 300, 400, 6, up to 1500 or even 2000 grit. Then some steel wool, sometimes the sponge that you wipe, scrub the glass cooking surface with, they make that red sponge. That makes it real nice, it polishes the wood very nicely. And then these are finished with either beeswax or a product called Renaissance wax, which is a museum type wax for protecting surfaces. Anything else? Didi?
So you are saying you're ordering the wood, but if you wanted to go out in the forest and get wood, or so a neighbor had great trees, like we had a neighbor who felled our trees and then he made doors out of them. How do you have to have it? Does it have to be kiln dried, or does it?
Well, there's two ways. If you've got a log, like an acacia log, Vern, which split. Thank you. You can green turn it. You can get a rough shape and put it in a paper bag and say goodbye to it for 2 or 3 years and wait. Or if somebody wants to kiln dry it for you, that'd be great. I picked up wood off of Sport Haven and let it sit for the better part of a year. Green turn it. I use a product called pentacryl, which replaces the water molecules inside the cellular structure, and it helps it dry without cracking. You have a vase out of that. That's driftwood. Just I have no idea what kind of wood it is. Just found it down on the beach. We have a couple of bowls at home that are burls that I got down there. So, yeah, I've been told by more than one person that there's myrtle wood all you want up past Second Bridge. Forest Service cut it down and it's just laying there. But my lathe will only do, this is maximum right here. That's as big as I can turn till I find a bigger lathe. Or a bigger shop or both. And then, yeah, those logs, tell your neighbor I want that wood. John?
On the finishing, you said use beeswax?
Beeswax, Clapham beeswax from England. It's considered a salad bowl finish. It's beeswax. It's non-toxic.
No, I've used a product that's half beeswax and I think just half mineral oil.
Okay.
What would be the longevity?
I have put tung oil on some woods, which brings out the grain really nicely. I used to use more Watkins Danish oil. Yeah. Not so much anymore. I've tried, I saw a thing on YouTube, a guy puts a finish on using super glue, CA real thin cryoacrylic glue, and while the thing is spinning, he wipes it on there, about 20 layers of it, And after, in between each layer, it's gotta be polished again. It's really, Barbara, welcome.
Thank you.
And Pat.
Excuse us.
Hi, Pat.
Excuse me.
It gives a real glossy finish. I haven't had any luck with it. I can't seem to get the streaks out.
Yeah.
And that's, once that CA hardens, then the only thing you have streaks in it, all you can do is polish back down to the wood again and start over. I like just simple. My little bio over there talks about brevity, simplicity, restraint. Those are the things that I try to do here. Trying not to get too fancy. Every now and then I come in the house with something too fancy, too much goo-gaw on there, too many things happening. And I've got to bring myself back to keep it simple, you know? The simpler for me, the better. Technically, Turner's, you've seen it, the segmented wood, like a checkerboard pattern, dark and light, all glued together and turned into a beautiful, ornate. I really appreciate what they're doing, but I'm not there. I want to keep it as simple. I don't want me to be part of this scene. I want the bowl to talk for itself. I don't want you to go, boy, the guy that made this must be a really cool guy and I wonder what his name. No, I want the bowl to be the thing that speaks. So,
Any other questions?
did we all get enough wine and food? Thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to, I don't know if he's back there, Robert?
Here's a question.
Goslin,
There's a question.
over here. Our guitarist, thank you for, Robert, for coming by and supplying a beautiful music. Question, Roberta?
Do you think about branching out from bowls and containers and doing something
Like a chess set?
Say, some really cool chess set
No, I don't think about that at all.
for somebody whose birthday is
Say
coming up?
somebody whose birthday is in February and needs a chess set,
Okay.
okay?
I'm glad that cleared up.
Anyway, thank you so much for coming. Thank you.
Right, we have lots of food and wine. Help
Food and
yourself.
wine, help yourself.
They'll answer all the questions you have.
I'm sorry we're so late.
That's all right,
I
you're
didn't
here.
realize it started earlier.